It's the Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast for Tuesday, January 25th. Charity's still under the weather, due back tomorrow, but I don't know, because tonight's down to minus 22, wind chill of minus 30 Celsius here in the Quinte region with a risk of frostbite. Oosh. Coming up on the podcast today, the average age of grooms. First-time married men has hit an all-time high. I'm not going to speculate why, though a listener did text in a possible answer. What's the average age here in Canada? It's a little bit low, according to the world average, but we'll touch on that. If it turns out your child is the class clown, and you or your spouse or siblings or other children aren't, what does that mean? How do you handle it? Do you tramp it down, or do you develop it? What some experts have to say about class clowns and intelligence coming up. But right off the top, everybody's still talking about what happened to the Buffalo Bills against the Kansas City Chiefs at the AFC Divisional Playoff on Sunday night when Kansas City pulled off the miraculous comeback to tie it. And then they win the coin toss, keep the ball. Buffalo never gets it. Kansas City scores a touchdown, game over. There was a time where if you scored anything like a field goal, it was over. Then they thought about it and they said, you know what, maybe a field goal isn't good enough. So then the rule states, if you had a hard time following, it's okay. The rule states that if a team that gets the ball right away doesn't score and they punt it away, next score wins. Okay, because now they both have the ball, right? But if the team that first has the ball only kicks a field goal, well, we're going to give you a shot. So the next team, they've got the ball. If they don't score, it's over. If they get a field goal, then they keep going, next score wins. But then if they get the touchdown, they win. But if the first team gets a touchdown, it's flat out over. And now I think we've hit the point where all fans are like, this is ridiculous. It can't end without a team getting the ball. So up have come now 3 possible solutions. 2 of them sound that they were put together like 15-year-old boys on a sandlot, and then the obvious one. So let's have fun with the first 2. And the first one here was actually suggested by the Baltimore Ravens. It's called the spot and choose rule. Here's how it would look. Okay, you go, you flip the coin. And let's use Kansas City and Buffalo as the example. Kansas City wins the coin toss. So Andy Reid, the coach, then decides if he wants to spot or choose. So if he decides to spot, what he's going to do is decide where the ball is going to be to begin overtime. And he may say the 10-yard line. Okay, so he got to do the spot. What does Buffalo get to choose? Buffalo gets to choose whether then they want to go on offense and try and go the 90 yards, or whether they want to play defense, try and force Kansas City to go 90 yards, but hope that they shut them down, and then when Kansas City punts, they get really good field position. Spot and choose. Maybe they decide that it's going to be the 50-yard line, but then wouldn't the other team say, well, I want it on offense because it's close? So there's some strategy on where you would spot and some strategy on where you would choose, but at least it wouldn't be decided solely by the coin toss. The other one is called the field goal gamble. This is a little bit of Wild West on this one. So the home team, Kansas City, would then choose where a field goal would be kicked. So they would pick it. So they would say, okay, 40-yard line. No, 30-yard line. What would make that a 47-yard field goal, right? From the 30-yard line. Okay, then now Sean McDermott of Buffalo, because Kansas City got to pick it, would say, okay, I think my guy can make that one. So we're going to kick it. If Buffalo makes that field goal, they get the ball first and then kick off in normal. If they miss it, Kansas City gets the ball first, off in normal. You see, at least it isn't just the coin toss. They got to decide how far and who would kick it. If Andy Reid kicks it or decides a yard is too far back and Sean McDermott calls his bluff and said, no, I want you guys to kick it, and you miss, then Buffalo would have gotten the ball first. At least, I know it's a little crazy, but at least it's kind of got something to do with football. For the third solution, of course, is the most obvious. Is just play 10 minutes so they both get the ball. Because if the most exciting part of the game was that last 13 seconds, Don't you want another 13 seconds at the end of overtime? Sure, maybe both of them score, but it's a playoff game. Just play 10 more minutes. And if you want to decide, I've got an answer to the coin toss problem. And that is in the playoffs. Whoever wins the coin toss at the beginning of the game, whatever they decide also happens in overtime. So if I win the coin toss and I defer to the second half, giving my opponents the ball first, you automatically will have to give your opponents the ball first in overtime. Oh, wait a minute. So deferring might be good in a regular season game, but not in a playoff game if you know you're not going to get the ball first, even though you're going to play 10 minutes. So that may be right at the beginning of the game, you're going to rethink a coin toss at the beginning of a game on how it would go. But then you're going to play 10 full minutes. So then that way, once the game starts, no more coin tossing. Everything comes down to football. We'll see what comes up this weekend. Hopefully this doesn't come down to one of the conference games on the way. And we'll see whether they discuss this in the offseason. But I think they really are, because there's a lot of momentum on changing that one. Also on the show this morning, we were talking about grooms, because normally this time of year, the end of January, a lot of bridal shows. Not the case this year, although there are a lot of dressmakers that are advertising, and because, wedding season is going to come up eventually when most of this snow is gone. But a new study has come out by a health platform called Manual that has revealed that the average age of grooms has increased. Now, back when William Shakespeare wrote about the poor perils of Romeo, it didn't end well, by the way. Spoiler alert, he doesn't make it. What was he, 17, 16 years of age? But the average age of a groom back in Shakespeare's day was 20 years and a couple of months. Today, globally, the average age of a first-time groom is 32.3 years of age. 32.3. Country with the youngest average is India. Average age, 26 years old. Country with the oldest average, Australia. You can't get a bachelor down under to the altar. The average age of a first-time groom in Australia, 39.3 years of age. North America, you can probably guess, 29.8 years of age for Americans, 29 and a half years for Canadians. Had a listener text in that says, but hobbits come of age when they're 33. So maybe that's just a coincidence. And finally, we talked about this new research that suggests that class clowns may actually be one of the smartest children in the room. Disruptive? Yeah. There's very flagrant disruptions, and we don't want that because that's not funny. But the child who every once in a while can throw a quip out there and make the teacher's head snap like, where'd that come from? And break up the class almost out of nowhere. And then when they get that kind of attention, you know what happens to them? They end up in radio and they get podcasts. But me aside, the point is, it does indicate a level of intelligence. Here's what they did. In Turkey, they took about 225 children, different IQs, tested them for their IQ level. So they would have known before they went to the second phase of the study who the really bright children were, the average children were, who are the ones who were struggling academically. But they asked all of them, and without telling them where they ranked, all of you, I want you to write down, make up jokes. Just make them up. Write them down. Make them up. And then when they were done, I don't know, they let them each write 3 or 4. They gave them to a panel of scientists and cartoonists. So scientists who can take a look at it from the intelligence, and the cartoonists who would say, now that's clever, and I don't get that one. But they would determine which ones were funny. And then they attached final scores to all of the jokes. And the experts found that the more intelligent children outperformed their peers in humor in every single way. They were linguistically funnier. The language was more intelligent. Any cartoons that went with it were better explained. The smarter children were funnier. The funnier children were smarter. So researchers believe that intelligent people have a better grasp of humor because of the subversion of the joke leads you down the path. You don't see the ending coming, the swerve, that's why it's funny. And you can show it in children by becoming this class clown. Disruptive, not good, mom and dad. Not good, right, teachers? But if they're good kids, and most of them are, they're good kids, if they've got a little bit of that class clown in them and you can anticipate that and you know that, there are ways, they say, where you can begin to kind of channel that into a more intelligent, positive way for the good of the child and certainly then for the good of the class. Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast today. Coming up on the show tomorrow, we're hoping to have Charity back. Regardless, we will have our Burger Revolution Throwback Thursday. We'll set that up tomorrow. We're going to go back a number of years for a couple of great debut singles. We'll give you those songs and that theme coming up tomorrow morning. Burger Revolution as well, all part of our shout-out takeout on the air today with about a week to go before we can get back to some dining in. Their burger of the month, a fresh start, has a beef or veggies, Swiss bacon, sauteed mushrooms, salad with tomato, red onions, and honey truffle vinaigrette. I mean, my gosh, that's a meal. Full combo is only $18.50 for all of that. If you just want the burger, it's $13.99. You can find them at Empire Square, 357 Front Street, Belleville, and at their Trenton location at 34 Monogram Place near the Quinte West YMCA for takeout. And we'll be able to eat in pretty soon, everybody, of course. But until then, please help out your favorite restaurants with takeout or delivery. Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and linked right here off of our social media sites. Subscribe to it so that you get it immediately when it's uploaded by 11 o'clock daily. Stay warm, okay? Minus 30 with the wind chill tonight. What will it do for school buses tomorrow and the like? You'll find out when you wake up with Mark and Charity Mornings on 95.5 Hits FM. Have a great day.